digital connection where conversations come to life. Prompt Chat Live, the perfect intersection where words make pictures, erasing all the strife. Prompt Chat Live, let's dance with words tonight. With every prompt that's sent, imagery takes flight. Prompt Chat Live, where pictures find their song in the rhythms of typing all night long.
Yep.
Hello.
I can't hear you, Kinky. Sorry.
Okay. Whoops. Well, I've just popped this out. All right. How do I return to Discord is the question. Here we go. Okay. We are a small group today. Not sure why, possibly because we're split now between Discord and the web. Almost all of our users can now use the web app. Uthal, can I ask that you are doing it already? Never mind. I was gonna say,
Yep.
can you just use www.midjourney.com so
Oh,
that the alpha goes away? But even if you
sure.
even if you do that, they still use the alpha logo. Try it. Try replacing alpha with www. Oh crap! It's gonna make you re-authenticate. Sorry. Uh, what's interesting to me is that the alpha uh, is still on the logo. See that? Even though you're anyway. So I'm asking you guys or giving you the option. There's only like 30 of us here. I'm giving you guys the option to you can either follow our presentation on the live stream here in Discord as we normally do, or you can actually load up the room and look at it locally on your own browser. If I've just put the URL in, I'll make it really big. There's the URL. I have to remove the embed so I don't spam you over much. This URL will take you to the room that Uthal is in. And yeah, collect is in both. Can't stop them. Two monitors, same. And if you want to use your local browser to follow along with Uthal while listening in Discord, you can absolutely do that. Roman, I believe this is being recorded. So I'd love to take a survey for those that are here. Are you feeling like you're going to mainly watch the live stream here in Discord, or are you going to try the room? Type in Discord or room or Discord or web. Energizer's going to do both. Miniman's going to do. Oh, look at all the boths! I love you guys. Hit me up. Okay, Mary Smith's just doing Discord. Okay. Himbo, you're typing into the Discord, so whatever you're typing into now, Himbo, is Discord. Uh, maybe Himbo was joking and I just fell for it. Okay. Oh yeah, Tashi cannot. The lower resolutions that mobile devices have are not yet supported on our early release of rooms. Okay. So there's some people who are Himbo. There is no Himbo. There should be a tile with a camera on it and a red lozenge that says live in bright red. I'm surprised you're at these events all the time. I always figured you were following along on the stream. Yeah, try both. Try both. And you can type in either chat, whichever is convenient to you. Oh, I got you, Himbo. Yeah, I don't know about that. But if you can't see the stream for any reason, you can follow along in the prompt craft room. Okay. Okay, great. So Uthal, there are people following along in both places, and there are people. No, collect. Stop it. Collect is typing one word in the room and one word in the Discord chat and going back and forth between the two to complete a sentence. That's very clever, and I hate you a little bit. Okay. So I know, right? He's just is inspiring people. Okay, so here we go. Promptcraft live. That's exactly right. Tashi just posted the troll emoji. Tashi knows what she of which she speaks. Okay, so pick either one or both of the Promptcraft room. I'll put the URL again if you've just joined us. We are also in the Promptcraft Midjourney room, which is uh, a new feature that we're just rolling out just to explore it to see how it works. And one of the things we're doing today is having Uthal do his imagines in the room, just so that people can watch it via a browser, if people want. And maybe it'll be disruptive and horrible, and we'll find out. Okay, Uthal is going to talk about tricks to using negative weights. Uthal, I hand the microphone to you.
Right. Well, good morning, everybody. Thanks for coming. We're going to start out today with a little summary of the presentation I did on April 4th about zero space. So we start on the same page. We know what we're talking about. So we're going to be talking about low weight prompting today, and its interesting effects. And at the end of the last presentation, I encouraged everybody to do some experimentation with low weight prompting and see if we can discover anything interesting. And Collect and I definitely did a whole bunch of that, and we did find some really interesting stuff that we're going to cover today. That's actually useful rather than just aesthetically pleasing or interesting. Uh, so so let me just
I, for one,
maximize that.
love useful.
Yeah,
Love useful.
same. Uh, so, so what we talked about in the last presentation was the different zones when using negatively weighted promptlets to lower the total prompt weight of your prompt. Mostly today we're going to be talking about this range here, this approaching zero space that we didn't even bother with last time because we didn't think there was too much interesting. Things just started getting weird there, but this is where most of the discoveries have been made since. Um, So we'll run through maybe the first journey here. Uh, so it starts with at full weight, we get a totally normal kitten, and we're going to be prompting. So everything's kind of tiny here. Oh, too big. So we start with a full weight kitten here, and we're going to be using what we call a void promptlet, which is just a couple of quotation marks, which is as clean as possible to avoid prompts we can get in version 6. That is a prompt that has no meaning. So for the purposes of lowering the total weight of the prompt, it works pretty well. Um, you can use any type of negation term to do it really, and at low weights it becomes even less important. But the results will be different depending on. Oh, sorry, I'm already losing my voice. The results will be different depending on what negation terms you use. Um, so as we progressively lower the prompt weight, everything's still kind of normal. But once we get down to 0.02 total prompt weight, we start getting weird things showing up. The kittens are smaller than they were at full prompt weight, and we've got these little strange objects that are showing up, and the composition is a little bit strange. Um, so this is like right on the edge of the weird zone. If we go even a little bit further, the kittens start getting really weird. We've got floating stainless steel toasters in this one. This one's got weird composition with halfkins on the side, some sort of cherry tomatoes and bananas in the background on this one we didn't ask for, and it's in a shipping container for whatever reason. Um, if we go a little bit further than that, so right near the bottom of the weird zone, we've got broken backgrounds, messed up anatomy. This kitten's foot turns into a tail. This cat is made of 3 kitten heads. Um, doesn't make much sense at all. If we go even further, the cat's body is gone and it just has a foot. This one here is a melted face. This one's floating in midair, has eyes that can see into the void.
Ah,
It it
seeing forever.
it gets very strange when you're at low weight prompted. So this here happened at 0.1 total prompt weight, and if we go even a tiny bit further, it dissolves into what we call soup, or what I call soup, anyways, which is these interesting patterns that are flavored by whatever you've lowered the weight of. So in this case, this would be kitten soup, and they're often gray and kind of bland. Um, One of the things you can do with this soup is you can select a region over it with very region, and you can prompt for something. In this case, we went for a beautiful angel, and whatever you in paint on top of the soup with will inherit some of the characteristics of the soup. So you can see the soup here had this kind of weird shimmery pattern, and we've got some shimmery pattern on the dress, some little leaves that interpret it is, or some sort of floating junk or whatever. This is much more interesting with a more colorful type of soup. So if you were to take a clown and lower its weight down to the soup level, it's very colorful.
Beautiful.
Um,
Would you
uh,
would you take a segue real quick just because we have some people who were not here when you described what soup is? Could you one more time uh, just define the word soup since we're going to be using that word?
sure, I'll post this document in the chat as well.
Okay, that's
So you
great.
can check. I'm just going to jump back up to the top here. This this little infographic here talks about the different regions as we with a simple prompt. So these thresholds can change position based off a number of factors, like using a character reference or a style reference, or using a really complicated prompt. Um, it'll shift the location of these thresholds. So if you're using a very short and simple prompt, they're approximately at these weights. So once you get down to 0.2 total prompt weight to 0.1 total prompt weight, we're in the weird zones where things start getting weird. Then just past that is when things dissolve into what we call soup. And then past that, they dissolve into zero space noise. So we'll go down to when things start turning into soup here. This is what I call soup. This is kitten soup. It's not a kitten anymore. It's dissolved into these patterns. So this is what I call soup. And then once you go past the patterns, so we're going by 0.01 increments here. Uh, lower and lower, and eventually it turns into basically these diffusion noise patterns that they're interesting. You can do a few things with them, like this example here. If you do an in paint selection where we're just selecting the kitten's eyes and we're prompting at a 0.01 total prompt weight, it'll inpaint this noise onto whatever you're inpainting on. So you can replace the kitten's eyes with noise, basically. So this we're just doing a brief summary of the things that were covered on April 4th. But today it's going to be mostly about approaching zero space and things we can do here in between 0.05 and 0.02. So we will get right into that. So as I'm sure many of you are aware, version 6's in painting is rather disobedient. I believe a couple weeks ago, Collect did a presentation about tricks that you can use to make in painting more compliant and more obedient. Um, so we're going to do one here with low weight in painting. So we'll go photograph of a business woman in an office. And I guess we'll do it in square aspect ratio just so we can see it better here. And default settings and everything.
All right. So those of us who are watching uh watching the prompting on the web in the Midjourney room, which I just posted the link and you can do that. You can click the gear icon. Can you hover over the gear icon for just a second? You can click that gear icon, you guys, and you'll be able to decide whether you want to see others' creations immediately or only when they're in progress or only once they're done rendering, which is what I choose. And auto will make a decision based on the traffic, and that's very cool. So you can, if you want right now, change it so that you can see Uthel's creations um, at a particular time. And if there's too much spam, Uthel can always use the Your Images tab. And as the presenter, we will only see to the left of your gear there, Uthel. There's your. Oh, you're already in Your Images. All images in Your Images.
right.
And then it'll
Yes.
take out everyone else's stuff and you can only see his. So Uthel, you might want to present in the Your Images mode so
Yeah,
that
that's a good
other
idea.
people, if your audience gets frisky and starts prompting stuff, you won't get distracted.
Good call. So I was going to do these in a square aspect ratio. Sorry, are you are you finished or can continue or?
Yes, thank you. And back to you, Uthel. Yes, thank you.
I was going to do these in a square aspect ratio, but I think I'll use 69 actually. Gives me more room for the in painting. 16:9 is a widescreen aspect ratio. They show up very small in the rooms here, but I can always expand them. I'm gonna have to expand them anyways to in paint on them.
Uthel, we have a request for you to type like hello into the chat in your room window. Apparently, cool things can happen if you do that. All right, folks, we've done. What does that accomplish, you guys?
If you
I've done
click
it.
Uthel's name now, you can filter only his images.
Ah,
You
yes,
can?
sure can.
Yep. Show me how to do that.
Just click on his name in the chat.
Yep.
Oh, I see. I don't have to do anything. It just happens. It just
Pretty
happens.
fancy.
Oh, you guys, I just learned something. I'm so proud of myself right now. Okay, got it.
Okay. So, um, so I did a bunch of experimenting with this last night, just to make sure it was still working, and sometimes it does, sometimes it doesn't. It's kind of a little bit slippery. Um, most of the time it works though. So we'll do a little side by side. We want a floating rabbit here. So we're going to do two prompts. So I made a big. This is the in painting window. So I made a rather large selection here. So it's got to fit all the other rules of in painting as well. Um, so we've got a rather large selection there, and we're going to do just a floating rabbit at full weight. And then we're also going to do a floating rabbit at 0.4 total prompt weight. So this is in the approaching zero space zone. You wouldn't normally think there would be anything that would happen here. This is going to be a bad example because it's going to work at full weight. I'll try it on one of the other images. Yeah. So it worked in 3 out of 4 at full weight and 4 out of 4 at 0.4 weight. So that's inconclusive, not a good one. It I'm not sure why it works better on some images than others, so we'll just try it on a different one here. So we can get a more clear cut. It works here, it doesn't work there. So we'll do the floating rabbit and floating rabbit at 0.4. So we can notice some differences here. At full prompt weight, it's integrated it into the image better. So we've got really good depth of field on the first two. Got all of its legs. One of them didn't work. Or maybe this is it in the background here. We can see some ears. Looks like he's sitting at the desk, maybe. Um, but at 0.4 total prompt weight, they're definitely not as well integrated into the image. And no legs. We've just got floating rabbit heads. This one's got some little legs. Okay, here's a much better side-by-side example. At full prompt weight, it ignored it completely. We've got no floating rabbits. It's just replacing the zone with more background, which I'm sure a lot of you are familiar with version 6's in painting. It does this a lot. It'll ignore your requests. And there are tricks to make it work better. Not so much for something like this. The main trick that we recommend that works really well is to use more context in your in-painting prompt. So in this case, it would include the rest of the prompts as well. A businesswoman standing in an office with a floating rabbit beside her. And we could actually run that and we'll compare the results of that as well at full weight. So a business woman standing in an office with a floating rabbit beside her. We'll do that at full weight and we'll compare using this extra added context of the rest of the image to hopefully support the in-paint. But anyways, it absolutely worked here. At full weight prompting, we've got no floating rabbits, but at 0.4, we've got 3 out of 4 floating rabbits. They're not the best floating rabbits because we're dealing with low weight floating rabbits, but it absolutely worked here. Um, This can be used for all kinds of things. Anything that you try to in paint where it basically just refuses. It looks like it's going to work in 1 out of 4 with the extra context. Yeah. And because it's at full weight, we've got a much more coherent rabbit. Has proper legs and a body. Um, so at low weight prompts, we're going to get strange things like this. And we can go lower. We'll go lower just to show you. A floating rabbit.
All right, so we've got some questions. I'm not even sure I understand the questions, but is it the color of the background that varies the amount you have to use minus 0.9 versus minus 0.6?
I'm not sure exactly what it is that causes some of them to work and some of them do not work. In the testing I did yesterday, I think there's a possible link to the complexity of the background, as I had a lot of trouble in painting on top of it was some vertical like Venetian blinds. Um, I wasn't able to get the rabbit to work on them. Um, yeah, I'm not really sure why sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't, even with the weight prompting.
Select ads, you basically have to guess with each image.
Pretty much. This is why I just went to the second image here because the first one here wasn't a good example because it worked at full prompt weight. You wouldn't normally expect it to as an out of context floating rabbit, but yeah, it did.
Got it,
Um,
got it. Hey, my next question, no, never mind. I see it. Okay. Carry on. Thank you.
Okay, so we've got some even lower weight in painted rabbits here. So it's -0.7, so 0.3 total prompt weight. We've got less coherent rabbits. This one's pretty much a cotton ball with a head attached to it. This one's really good for such low weight. If we go even lower, so we're in the weird zone now. This one's got a messed up face with no nose. This one's missing an ear. This one's not even a rabbit at all. It's a rabbit flavored cloud, I guess. Um, this one is also very strange. Um, at negative 0.9, so we're at 0.1 total prompt weight. This is right at the sweet spot where we're going to be getting to a little bit later in today's presentation. We're going to talk about what I call face removal magic. So Himbo
Nice.
did some experiments with this the other day, and he called it the eraser, which is also a really good idea.
It sounds so
It's also a
ominous.
really good name. Yeah.
The eraser.
Well,
I'm interrupting because we have request and a question. One is, can you go ahead and turn off your music, because we have several users who are distracted by it and I cannot don't know Discord well enough to turn off the music themselves.
sure.
So
The
uh,
music has died.
the music has died. Then we have a question from Collect that says, can you also show the context prompt plus the lowered weight?
Oh, sure. So with the context, with full weight, it did 1 out of 4. I'm just going to copy prompt back here, region, paste the prompt, do -0.6, so 0.4 total prompt weight. And I would assume that would work. So this one did 3 out of 4. So ideally, we'd be looking at 4 out of 4 with both. Yeah, looks like it. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Those turned out all right. Um, okay, well, that's do some other things. We'll try adding a floating frog. We'll do it first at full
Himbo
weight.
asks, wait, what area did you select?
This is the area selection right here. If you look on my screen, it's this oversized square here.
Yeah, that's interesting. Another observation, which I'll put a note, that we of course can't enjoy watching your very region window on the web, only via the shared stream here.
Yes, that is to be the case. So when we do a floating frog at full weight, it's like 0 out of 4 again. None of them worked. If we do it at 0.4 total prompt weight, we've got almost on the way. 4 floating frogs. So the theory behind this is that as the total prompt weight lowers, prompt adherence goes up and image coherence goes down. So in the context of in painting, that also lowers the amount of context clues it requires to in paint whatever you're asking for. So that's the reason that at full weight we get nothing, no obedience whatsoever, because it's looking at the image and saying, "Oh, there shouldn't be a frog here. The depth of field is too deep, so the frog would have to be floating in the air, and frogs can't float in the air, so it's just not going to work. So you get nothing. Midjourney tries to make a coherent image, and Midjourney is always trying to make a coherent image. And since frogs aren't normally flying in an office space, you get no frog in this case. If we were to try to put another person there, it would probably be more obedient. Um, but yeah, it's kind of an interesting theory. Um, it's supported by a number of examples like this one. Um, but still, it is a theory. It's experimental. Doesn't always work. It depends a lot on the starting image, as most in painting does. Um, Shakespeare, I see Shakespeare in the side chat there is asking, can you add more multiple items? Yes, you can always continue on from it. So we'll take one of the ones with the frog here, and we'll do below the frog here. We'll put a floating kitten.
Wait, hold it up. Don't go yet. I'm gonna take a picture of this. I'm gonna put it in the alpha room.
Sure.
So that people can see the very region you're doing. Hold up. Whoops. Okay. So then I'm gonna put this, here's the very region he's working with. All right. Let's try that just in case anyone wants to do. Okay, carry on. Thank you very much.
Okay, so I kept the 0.4 total prompt weight because this is an experiment anyway. It's looking like it's not going to work anyway. So um, we might have to go lower prompt weight.
That's what makes all this so authentic is that Midjourney is being Midjourney even when we're trying to show how things go.
Yeah, yeah. Well, one of the things I said at the beginning is sometimes it's really hard to tell whether it's going to work or not because it's really hard to tell why it doesn't work. Um, it's looking like even with really low weight, it's not going to obey. So I guess the answer for Shakespeare is sometimes. I think we might need more context for this one. It might be getting confused between the frog and the kitten. So what we'll do is we'll go back to 0. So negative 0.6 or 0.4 total prompt weight I find is kind of the sweet spot for doing this type of thing because it's still mostly coherent, so the images come out looking all right, but it's right on the line between being obedient and disobedient. So what
You
we're
might
gonna
try hovering instead of floating because floating makes Midjourney think about water and hovering doesn't.
yeah
If
yeah we can run
just an
through one of
idea,
those.
just to kind of avoid the floating archetype there.
To go, I'm gonna try adding a little bit more. We're gonna use the more the prompt with more context to see if that makes a difference. So businesswoman office with a floating frog and a floating kitten beside her, also with lowered weight. Let's see if that works. So hovering kitten also did not work. Lowering the weight all the way down to 0.2 did not work. I see a little bit, I see something going on here. Yeah, I think the context is going to work. So in general, when you're messing around with inpainting, adding more context to your prompt is the first go-to before you start messing with weights, because it is quite effective. As we can see here, it made all the difference in the world. turbo mode. Not very turbo today. Ready, set, go. There, so now we've got a frog and a kitten, and a frog and a frog. That's to be expected. A kitten with frog legs. That's interesting. But yeah, so when you're adding more than one in-painting thing, some context is important, and it's also really important to include the previous thing that you in-painted, and you just keep adding on to it. So if we want to do a third in-paint, it's going to need this exact same prompt. So copy prompt, and we'll go with this one here, and over here,
So what ultimately worked?
the context, a businesswoman in an office
In an
with a floating
office.
frog,
I see, I
with a
see.
floating frog and a floating kitten beside her.
Phrasing. Okay.
And
And we've got request to frog her face. We've got, I'm just scrolling around
we
and
can
looking
do
at
that.
the Collect is celebrating because you might not have noticed his comment, but how you solved the problem was his advice. Also,
Yep,
so you
yep.
two are
I didn't believe him
brain
originally.
twins.
I didn't
Yep.
believe him originally when he recommended using context, and I remembered that he had told me about
But it's
when he
even
was
in the
trying
FAQ. Oh, right, you don't read the FAQs. Okay. Well, it's in the
Yeah,
FAQs, y'all. This is Promptcraft Live, and if you need any information after Promptcraft Live, you can always use the FAQ documentation, and it says everything that's being said here. So you don't have to take notes or anything. Sorry, I'm done. Yep, go ahead.
so as I was saying, I didn't believe him originally, but I had remembered what he suggested, so I did. I was doing some testing on my own with. This is actually going to segue really nicely into the next thing we want to talk about. I did some text experiments of my own later on, and when when trying to correct the spelling on some text, it helps to include all of the text, the rest of the text as well, and it makes all the difference in the world. So if you have a segment of text that's say 3 lines long and you want to fix one word in the middle, um, you obviously want to select that one word with in-painting, but um, just prompting for that one word in your in-painting prompt is not very effective. But if you prompt for the entire phrase in your in-painting prompt, it is. It'll replace that word and it'll usually fix it. Um, so we'll do a demonstration of that coming up shortly. Um, but but first we'll talk about we're going to go into the next section. Somebody wanted a frog face on the lady ice. We do that as
Yeah,
well.
that was Hemi.
Okay. We'll take a different one just for fun here. We'll take this lady. We'll select most of her face.
While you're doing that,
So
can I ask, is it possible to, I mean, I know you're just randomly putting frogs and kittens into to just as a proof of concept, right? It's just a proof of concept
yeah.
that the lower weights can help this happen. Um, but is it possible uh, for the image to look very finished and blended and aesthetic and beautiful with this method, or does the fact that using this method very with a very low weight mean you're always going to get a sort of mismatched compromised coherency ad like
Uh,
this?
Sometimes I think that that depends a lot on luck. So the reason I'm using negative 0.6 is it's kind of in the sweet spot, pretty much in the middle, between janky coherency and actually sticking to what you're asking for. But it's a very good point you're bringing up. Lowering the prompt weight of the in-painting prompt will make whatever you're in-painting look kind of janky and not match with the image very well. Um, but sometimes you can
Can
get
you
lucky
improve it
and it does.
like if like after I add it and it's like a janky frog, um, but later I can select it and get a more beautiful frog. Like how do I use this method and also have the level of aesthetic beauty that I'm accustomed to getting from Midjourney?
Well, one thing you can do is you can very subtle the image, um,
Hmm.
but as
Doesn't
if you've had
that
any experience,
rewrite the whole image with with
it,
the prompt of floating frog? That's what it does in Discord.
uh, I don't think it will here. I think you might be thinking of Remix. So very subtle here. It it just modifies the image itself. So we'll run one there on the floating frog. It's usually pretty quick.
Oh yeah, it's different in Discord. If you use very image in Discord and then click a V button, then the entire canvas will be redrawn according to whatever the prompt was at the moment you click the V button.
Oh yeah,
On
this is
here it's using it as a parent image and um yeah, he looks a little improved, hey?
yeah. Yeah, it's changed everything, but it's kept.
It changed
We've got
everything.
yeah,
But if you needed some sort of businesswoman and some sort of frog, you might be happier with this than with the original
yeah,
the original kind of collage looking copy paste thing. Yeah, Hemo said it looked like a bad Photoshop collage, but after you do a very subtle, it kind of blended in a little bit better.
it'll definitely do that. So we're gonna try and
Okay.
make I'm gonna try and make this woman's face a frog face. We're just gonna do we'll do a couple of props actually to compare their efficiency. So we'll go frog face. This is the most basic prompt possible, full weight, no context. So we'll do a frog face and then a frog face at 0.4 total prompt weight. And then we'll go business woman in an office with a frog face. We'll do this one at full weight and at reduced weight. So we've got four to compare here.
Okay, so I'm gonna direct your attention to a new question while that's processing. Can you go back with very region and fine tune the rabbit by using a full prompt weight, like bringing it back up to one?
Yes, you can, in fact. And
Can you demonstrate that, please, for
sure,
Mary Smith?
we'll go with one of the. So um, that actually segues into a really good point that I had almost forgotten to mention. Um, once you've used, yeah, this is actually a good way to get them to be more coherent too. Once you've used a low weight prompt to get something in the image questionably coherent, so we'll get one of the. We'll take the crappy cloud rabbit here because this one's easily the least coherent of the results. And so now that we've got something there that looks kind of like a rabbit, um, it's much easier to in paint a rabbit there. So we'll select the region and we'll go a floating rabbit at full weight. And I think that'll work. We'll take a look at that in a second. No, it's just gonna remove it. Too unlike a rabbit, I guess.
Did it delete it?
Yeah, just deleted it.
Mary Smith, we tried that method and it appears to have deleted the rabbit and replaced it with some people in a conference room.
I think it was just to do
You
with
know
the
how
selection.
rabbits turn into people in conference rooms. It just happens.
It was probably to do with my selection. I selected the whole thing without
Ah,
leaving any little anchors there that made it think it actually had to do something. With these little bits of fluff on the side, I bet it'll work. If not,
okay.
We can always go
because
with
now it's going to try to blend with the fluff and it'll think, I've got some fluff and I'm being asked for a rabbit. So maybe this is a good place to put a rabbit, is your theory.
yeah.
Oh dear. Something's there, but I don't trust it. Mary Smith, run away.
It actually looks like it's working quite well.
It's this mad giant rabbit face.
Yeah.
Oh
Another little
wait,
pink
no,
cloud.
wait. We've got a rabbit in a cloud. We've got a cotton candy rabbit. It looks like she's
A
thinking
lovely
about her
stuffed
dead pet rabbit.
Yeah, the
The
rabbit angel.
one and three look like she's remembering, Fluffy.
It's very serious about it. Okay, so we're gonna jump back to the frog-faced woman. So at full weight with her face selected, it
Mhm.
actually works pretty well.
Does it?
Well, it's horrifying, obviously, but it was effective.
Oh Lord. Yeah.
So for
Well,
two of them, it just redrew her face, which is about what you'd normally expect. Um, I had lowered weight here. It didn't work at all.
I
On
like how
this one.
Midjourney's like something something face, put sunglasses on it.
So at even lower weight, so we can see here an example of the image coherence going down a lot. Well, this is actually at full
Mhm.
weight. This
Mhm.
is still at full weight. This is just with context. So kind of
Ah,
kind of a grab bag, hit or miss.
Par AI is saying, look, if you get a weird rabbit, such as when you use the full weight on the rabbit to make it a little bit more coherent. So when she's dreaming of her dead rabbit there, Par AI is saying, well, can you vary region again and do it again so that you specify that there's a whole floating rabbit there now that you have the base of the rabbit's face. They're like, can you keep going? Like, how many steps is there? I mean, to me, the question he's asking is how many can I just keep using very region indefinitely to get what I want, or is there a eventually, like after you do it two or three times, there's no return on your investment anymore?
Yeah, yeah. Theoretically, you can just keep going. Back in 5.2, and I'm not sure if this is the case anymore. After about 20 in paints, 20 to 25 in paints, the image will progressively keep getting darker and darker to the point that you can't really use it anymore. And I haven't seen that's the case with version 6, so you can just kind of keep going. So we'll try, see if we can replace the cotton candy around this guy.
Collect is
So,
confirming that the 20 iterations of very region and then it going bad is the case and is no fun. But that's in version 5.2, you guys, right? Version 6, you just said it. No, Collect is saying no, in V6 it also eventually you can't vary region indefinitely.
well, there you go.
Yeah, it runs up the contrast eventually and basically destroys the beauty.
That's interesting. So every pass with vary region tweaks the contrast and eventually that disrupts the image is just ugly after a certain point.
It gets really dark. If it's doing the same thing it was doing back in 5.2,
I got you.
yeah, I can't really demonstrate that because it takes a while to do
It takes a while,
20,
that's fine.
20 or so in
And
paints, but
Galley says it loses fidelity too.
yeah, so there's definitely a limit. So these frog-faced women didn't come out as good as I'd like, and it might just be the best ones were at full weight, which is not ideal.
Himbo wonders, you're putting frogs and rabbits there. If you put something that does fly or hover naturally, like archetypally, would it go easier?
Uh,
Like
That's
if
a
you
good
did a
question. We
hovering
might as well.
drone or a hovering dragonfly, that would be Midjourney would vary region more easily than frogs and rabbits.
We might as well try it. We'll do a hummingbird. This is with the original image, with the original
Oh,
selection.
you need the context though, right?
Well, we'll try one
I see, I see.
without the context, and we'll try
Got
one
it.
at -0.6, and then we'll try one with the context. A useless woman office bird. So,
How do you have to say floating or hovering? No. I mean,
well, we
I
could.
think that's what Himbo's asking is if you say something's floating or hovering and it really does archetypally, then it does Midjourney struggle less.
Good question.
Okay, just the word hummingbird didn't fly,
Sure didn't.
so to speak.
The hummingbird at lowered weight also didn't work. But with the context, we've also added a floating hummingbird here, so with the context, it definitely did work. The lowered weight did not. Getting a little bit far away from our original gen here, having to scroll a lot to get back to it. So we'll do loading hummingbird. And we're gonna have to move on to another generation after this one, just so we don't have to scroll up so far.
But looks like the answer is you're struggling just as much for a hummingbird as you were for a rabbit.
Oh, it looks like it's gonna work with the lowered weight here. So the floating definitely made a difference. At full weight, it did not work. But at lowered weight, it worked about the same as the context. So if you're given the option between using a bunch of context to anchor it with the image or using low weight, you're generally going to want to use context because at full weight, the hummingbirds will be more coherent. So it'll grow
Yeah,
close
yeah.
to
The
the full weight
hummingbirds
ones.
at full weight are cute and small and look like they belong, and the lowered weight um removes the coherency and blending a little bit.
Yeah, they look a little
But
strange.
as you demonstrated, if you need a brute force way to get an object onto your canvas, you can try this lowered weight trick just as something to explore to get the damn thing on the canvas. And then once you have it on the canvas, you have other methods to beautify it afterwards if you like.
Yeah, we can do that again here. We'll leave just a little bit of this wingtip here, and that should be enough to anchor it to the image. So we'll go full weight floating hummingbird.
That's interesting. Uthal, the FAQ talks about sampling so that your region selects part of what something's going to be near. Like your hummingbird is more likely to be the right size if you select a little bit of the lady that it's next to, right? It talks about kind of a sampling, but it doesn't do the opposite, which is leave anchoring, as you call it. It has sampling but not anchoring. I could add that to the FAQ. That's very cool. That was a miss on my part.
It worked pretty well.
Yeah, it did.
So,
That's great.
so another thing about using the low weight in painting with an oversized selection, it seems to want to fit as much of the selection box as possible. And so we're going to demonstrate that with the next test. So we'll do for a starting image, we'll do a fireman standing in front of a fire truck. So we're going to do some text in painting on this one, and the same rules apply. A lot of the time when you select a region and you try to prompt for text, um, it'll pretty much ignore you. And using lowered weight is definitely a good way to get the text started. Continuing the text, which we're going to talk about shortly after, you're going to want to go back to a full weight prompt. So this first one here looks perfect. He's definitely a fireman, fire truck, nice image. So at the top here, I'm going to select a location like that. I'm going to go large stylized text that says sometimes I am. And we'll do it first at full weight. And then we'll also run one.
This is funny. By the way, we have a question that says, "Hey, what happens if you use CREF or SREF or an image reference over the zero space?"
It changes the locations of the thresholds. So if we're looking at this here, using a character reference or a style reference will push everything lower. So you get what's called a low weird zone and a low soup zone, where everything takes place much lower in between 0.1 and 0. So the weird zone will be weirder. The soup zone will be less coherent, less attached to the image. But the image itself, actually, the second example in this document here goes over that. So we'll go down to that. Going deeper using a CREF. So this one started with a character reference of a woman, a superhero, lightning themed woman. I believe InfoGuru provided this, and so we go all the way down to half weight, and pretty much nothing changes as we'd expect. But then if we go all the way down to 0.1 total prompt weight, this is normally at the bottom of the weird zone where things start to dissolve into soup. But because of the character reference, we've still got lightning themed superhero one. If we go even lower than that, so this normally would be past the weird zone and halfway into the soup zone, but it's still actually able to make a human because of the character reference. The thresholds have shifted further down, so we've got a low weird zone, is what this would be called. The lightning's taking a totally different form. The lightning wants to become noise.
Adding the craft or whatever actually adds sort of a note of stability or coherency that to overcome that coherency you actually have to take everything even lower than before because to overcome the coherency introduced by the external image.
Sure does.
Okay.
So if we look at this example here, this is at 0.04 total prompt weight, and this should be a solid soup texture, but it's still trying to make shapes. That's because of the character reference. This is what we'd call an extremely low weird zone. So it's not quite in the soup zone yet because it's not making patterns. It's still trying to make something, but it's even weirder than normal weird zone. So some kind of hairy rock with lightning on it kind of thing. And then so we're right on the threshold at 0.04 here. And if we go to 0.03, now we're in the soup zone. And then if we go just 0.01 lower, we're touching into the noise, and 0.01 lower than that, we're fully into the noise. This is all taking place within 0.04 at the very bottom. So yeah, character references change the thresholds.
What if
Complicate.
you use, I know you're doing your sometimes I am thread and we're kind of taking you on a segue here, but in the chat people are asking, like, going back to the incoherent rabbit, or the discoherent rabbit, however you want to call that. Is it possible that you could select the rabbit and at that point put a cruff of a nice rabbit there, and then of course you get your hovering rabbit supported by a cruff.
Yeah, you absolutely could do
That
that.
that is I'm gonna go ahead and just put the FAQ that describes how to do that um in the chat, just in case uh people, it basically just shows that you can select a region, and then when you're prompting in that region you can add your external images any the way you would with a normal prompt, and it'll affect the region. So I don't think that's about negative space anymore. I think that's probably just about using vary region and cruff. But
Yeah, there's
it's
there's
if
there's
you're struggling with coherency, that is a method you can use instead of negative space.
absolutely it's probably a better one too. This is kind of a
Negative space is a fun hack. It's just like, how can we screw? Okay, let me just I'm going to reiterate the context for you, Uthal, since we have extra people. I'm watching the stream go up as this goes on. So I'll just say one more time. I don't know if you guys know this about V6, but multi-prompting or weights, that's the double colons. The implementation in V6 was kind of a little bit haphazard because we don't really need them the same way we did in prior versions of Midjourney. So the implementation is different, and it doesn't satisfy our use cases from prior models or prior versions of Midjourney. So we're discovering new ways to sort of abuse the implementation. So the implementation is kind of a little bit broken. Like, what else can we do with it, right? So one of the things we can do with it is emphasize style and aesthetics, and we do have an FAQ that explains how to do that. But another thing you can do is the stuff that Uthal and Collect and Himbo have discovered in the PromptCraft advanced prompting community, which is if you lower the weight of the prompt, sometimes uh, you can kind of use it as a brute force way to get stuff onto the canvas, and that's what's being demonstrated today. Um, and that's possible because of the new implementation of weights here in V6, which has otherwise been very frustrating, but now we have a hack, and it's really satisfying to be able to use it to do something. So I really appreciate Uthal taking the time to show us this.
ideally you'll want to use the all of the other techniques for getting in painting to obey. So using a character reference of the object or person that you're trying to in paint into the image is particularly effective. As we've shown here today, using context is extremely effective. So for example, let's say you have an image of a woman holding a sword, or anybody holding a sword, and you want to change that sword into flowers. This one came up in prompt chat a couple days ago. Um, it is far more effective to say in your in painting prompt, she is holding flowers, rather than just flowers when you have the sword selected. So this one here, so we're going back to the text here. The first one I did isn't the greatest example because it worked at full weight. So we're gonna get one that doesn't work at full weight. And what I've done to reduce the chances of it working is I did a smaller selection, but I might have gone too small because it's not even working with reduced weight. So we'll have to try that again with a slightly larger selection. We'll do a side by side as well. Weight, and reduced weight. So I am getting to something interesting with this. This isn't just about in painting one line of text. So what we discovered is that by using both together, it doesn't necessarily need to be both together. As long as you've got the first line, you can use context when in painting to do unlimited text, basically. Um, you can go one line at a time and continue adding to it. It's got to give me
That's
the first
fantastic
line
that you can
though.
add. I know it's struggling to get the first line. I'm also interested not only in how to add multiple lines of text, you can put like, several more than 2 words at a time would be nice.
Yeah.
And you're showing us that, but I'm also interested in how to change the size of text. I don't know how to make text fill a region.
So lowering the weight like this absolutely helps it fill the region. We'll do one very large here just to show that on a little segue here. We'll do just sometimes, and we'll do a large selection here. So we should get really large text here, and we'll do this as I say.
Before you submit that, or if you don't mind submitting a second one, use the lasso tool to select everything to the left of the fireman and try to get the text to actually stretch and fill typographically into that copy space.
Worth a try.
I mean, I have no
haven't
idea
done
how to
that.
do it. It's an impossible prompt right now.
No, I have done
to-
that before, so it does work. We don't even need the lasso tool. We'll just go like this.
No, I mean all the way down. No, just the left, just the left.
Oh, I see what you're doing.
Yeah. Yeah. Now we're cooking with gas, or we're at the races with gas, or whatever. Yes. So now I want Midjourney to like kind of use that whole space for typography. And what Midjourney usually does, no matter what my prompt is it just does whatever the hell it wants. It won't fill the space. I can't get it to stretch and fill, like, use the whole space. Fill this with the text.
So I haven't tried something this extreme, but usually with boxes with a lowered weight, it'll try and fill
It
whatever it
will.
is.
It will. This is exciting, everyone. I don't know if you guys are following there as the audience in this conversation, but really, S1000, are you being sarcastic? You're winking at me, man. You've got something in your eye. Okay. S1000, he says. I'm so surprised to hear that S1000 is good text when so many people say that Style Raw is good text, which is like the opposite direction. Ah, look at that on the left. It actually did try to fill the space. I mean, it didn't actually put the word there, but it did try to fill it. Now, what happens if you do that magic with Collects S1000?
I've already changed the prompt because I'm trying to go back to the thing I was trying to show.
No, just do everything we're asking, Uthul. Just do it.
Yeah, it's okay.
Dance, monkey, dance.
I didn't make a lesson plan today, so this fills some time for sure. Ooh,
I
sometimes.
obey the piranhas, says Princess Lux. So people don't know that some of the advanced prompt craft community people we call them sometimes prompt craft piranhas, and that's because if you ever ask for help, in Midjourney rooms or in Discord prompt chat or whatever, sometimes you will be descended upon by multiple people who know what they're talking about, and that's why we're called the prompt craft piranhas. Because you'll get like 5 people trying to help you all at the same time. You're like, oh my God, the water is frothing. Sometimes it's now on the truck.
Yeah.
Okay.
The fire truck is taken literally as well. Need to call the fire department for his fire truck.
Yeah, it's a on fire truck.
So it looks like S1000 did not work.
What did we do wrong, Collect?
It
So
looks like
Oh.
creating
this.
text and images
No.
that don't have any
Uh-huh.
text on is tricky. You have to say it's a poster or a book cover or something to
That's
trick
right. That's
MJ
right.
into getting the text on there.
Looks like this job here failed.
Did you guys hear that? That sometimes if adding text is failing, it's because you did not tell Midjourney where the text should go. Like it's a business card, it's a poster, it's stationery, it's a book cover. It's and even if it's not any of those things, and you use words like poster with large typography that says sometimes I am, just because you told it, oh, it's a poster, Midjourney, trust me, it has text on it, then then Midjourney's like, oh, okay, posters obviously have text on them, and it sometimes helps Midjourney put text on things.
Yeah, and overlaid is also a good word to add text into images that don't have text on them.
Ah, nice, nice, nice. Okay.
Superimposed is another good one.
Yeah, superimposed is also great.
Okay, so I ran a new fireman prompt here so I wouldn't have to scroll all the way up. Get back to him. And we're going to try and do what I was doing before. Large stylized text that says, sometimes I am good. We'll do it at full weight and reduced weight. We're doing most things at full weight and reduced weight, so we can do side-by-side comparisons today, because that's the theme of today's presentation. Low weight in painting. It's been all low weight in painting, but the same concepts apply to images themselves. So if you have something that you're prompting for and it's being particularly disobedient, not doing what you're saying, rephrasing is absolutely the best way to go about it, or to use image prompts or character reference or style references. But you can also try lowering total prompt weight, and sometimes that can be effective. It will also crap up your image. This didn't work at. See, it tried to sneak it in there. So this tells
You know
me.
what? Oh, go ahead. I was just gonna say, often if I have something in my image that can have text on it, then my text will appear on it. Like if I try to put text over an image and there's a window, then suddenly that text will be frosted onto the window, like or if there happens to be a book in the image, then the text will be on the book. The only way I know to get around that is to change the phrasing to say, this is a poster, or this, something like that. Otherwise it it's too smart for its own good. It puts the text on existing objects. Maybe you were about to say that too.
Uh, no, it absolutely will sometimes, especially at increased S. At higher stylized values, it'll even often add something into the image to put the text onto that makes it look like it makes more sense. Um, in this case, though, that wouldn't really help me because I want floating text. I would prefer it's actually spelled properly or something's correct about it, but we can always correct it if we have one that has enough room. So these aren't good. So I've increased the size of the selection box because it wasn't working at all with the original selection here. And so we can see here it's got incorrect spelling on all of them, but at full weight it made a good attempt in 1 out of 4. At 0.4 total weight, it did some crappy attempts in 3 out of 4. I think I might need to simplify my requirements here. It doesn't seem to want to do all 3 words. So we'll just do 1 word. We can do the other words in the next line. Now, the reason it's being difficult right now here is really hard to put a finger on. It's probably a result of the original image here, and something in this image is fighting it. And impossible to say what it is.
What's missing is the context of the thought. I can bet $1.
You're probably right.
We've said that, Collect. It's not fair. If he does it now after I said that like 3 times, then this is sexism or something.
Well, it doesn't really matter though, because we don't want the text on something. We just want floating text.
Collect and I still think would help.
Yeah, it would still.
I mean,
help.
if you say this is a poster with it's not gonna draw a poster. It's going to assume the canvas that you've made is the poster and put
Yeah,
the
because
text on
right
it.
now it's assuming the canvas is a picture of a fireman, and pictures of firemen don't have text overlaid over them.
Well, simplifying the requirements also helped. Instead of sometimes I am, just sometimes. Looks like it's
Yeah, I really
so the
like
full weight
I
prompt.
really like this one.
At the full
It
weight
filled the
prompt,
space
it
nicely.
worked in 1. So we'll take this one here, since it's nice and large, and we're going to use the context of this original prompt to continue with the text. So we're going to select the region below it here, and we're going to take off the lowered weight because we don't need it anymore. That was just to get the original one.
Wait,
So-
wait. Why don't you need it anymore? If you don't have to brute force anymore? Why not?
No, now that we have some text in the image, it knows there's supposed to be text here. and we
Because
can just continue on.
semantically it sees, oh, text. So now it's easier to put more text.
Because
Exactly.
now it's not a picture of a fireman. Now it's a picture of a fireman with text over it.
Okay, okay, yep.
Sometimes I am a good, and that's probably all we're going to be able to fit here. So we'll go, sometimes I am a good. And so this is an application of using context to add more and more text. So it's all going to be in the same quotation. So we're going to have a really long text function at some point. So it looks like it worked good here and kept the same font, which is ideal. Some of these are bad. Sometimes I am a good. Sometimes I am good. Sometimes I am a good. This is what we want. Then we're going to continue it again over here. Sometimes I am a good fireman. If the original line was smaller text, we could continue this endlessly and just keep adding text, fill this whole side of the image with text. And we're hoping for it to do some spelling mistakes along the way so we can show how to fix that.
You're not gonna have to wait long.
Yeah. Well, we could go to one of these ones and fix it too. So we'll just do a little segue here to so we're using the same prompt. Sometimes I am a good, and we're going to select this good, select this I, and it should remove those. We're not going to use the eraser or the face removal magic. It should just get the idea. It'll be able to tell what text is there. So sometimes I am a good fireman. The M is not very good here, so we'll fix that. Using the same technique. Select the M, same prompt, run it again.
Do you
So-
find that Midjourney is pretty intelligent about realizing that the M is bad and fixing it, or is it like
I think so. I think it's
it's
actually
smart,
to
huh?
do. I think it's actually to do with memory. The reason the text will be wrong a lot of the time is because the text will be
It runs out of
too long.
memory. Yeah.
Exactly. But if you're only inpainting a small selection, then you can continue on with text. The results are not great.
Well, I'll just reiterate though that almost everything that sucks about Midjourney is to do with the memory challenge. It's because, if you have 19 million plus people demanding something of graphic GPUs all at once, I mean, you have to parcel out our Imagine session, can only have so many resources allocated to it. Otherwise we would just burn up the globe. So so it's much improved now, not, the server farms are larger, and the GPUs are more efficient, and the algorithms are more efficient and effective, and over time we've had more and more room or memory per Imagine session. And so that's why V6's performance is so outstanding compared to even 5.2, in terms of prompt adherence, in terms of understanding. And there's some other stuff going on as well. But one of the big things that changes from model to model is its efficiency in using the memory that we've been allocated. And almost all the tricks that you'll learn as an advanced prompt crafter have to do with juggling the memory you have.
True. Going back to this example here, where we used inpainting with an unchanged prompt, and we had the I selected and the good selected. The results are all good. It managed to remove the I and the good. We're not going to continue on with this one here because it changed the font and looks kind of strange. So when we were working off of this one here, and we had the M selected because the M was bad. And in 2 out of 4, it fixed the M. But since we had a little bit of extra space, it left a big open space there. So we're going to have to fix that before we continue on to the next stage as well. And we're just going to select the end of it there with the same prompt and run it again. And that should fix. Something like that's going to work. In 3 out of 4 anyways. In one of them it added an extra N, it looks like. Not ideal. But now continue on from this one. Sometimes I'm a good fireman. But then we'll try and get a little ambitious here. But then sometimes bring in a wider or a longer selection for that. Like that. We'll also do it with a short selection. So in theory, it should do smaller text in this smaller selection here. Looks like it got it wrong in all 4 with the large selection. But some of these might be salvageable. Well, this one got it right. It didn't fill the box. That's probably why I probably didn't give it enough room. So it figured in order to put all the text I asked for, it needed to make it much smaller. So with a smaller selection, it gave me smaller text in all of them. But it looks like it decided not to give all of it. Not ideal. Are any of these salvageable? That spelling mistake. This one doesn't have enough room for the but to go here. That's no good either.
Collect, are you dying to tell him to kick his stylize up?
No, that's fine. Like,
Okay.
there's no if stylize would be useful to get cool text, not good text.
I see.
Oh, yeah, it's already far too late for that.
It's
When-
too late to
when
be
we're-
cool.
When we're
Story of my
inpainting
life.
additional text like this, it will tend to follow the font that's already in the image. So for the first one, the first word, increase stylize might be good because it'll integrate the text better into the image and it'll do cooler looking text. So like on this one here, the first line, if this was done with stylize 1000, it would be likely to make nicer text. So one of the downsides of using lowered starting prompt weight here to get the first text working is generally it'll be less nice. Just like when we're inpainting the floating rabbits, the lowered weight floating rabbits were less nice than the full weight floating rabbits, just because we're lowering the total prompt weight and things are starting to get a little weird. It makes the text simpler. So none of these work except for this one, but we want large text. So we're going to just run it again. The larger selection, and we'll give it even more space.
Would it help to say small text or something, and so it suddenly thinks there's enough room? Or would that be I mean, you're trying to avoid that anyway.
Yeah. Yeah, we're trying to keep it as simple as possible. Well, let's see, it doesn't, even with a larger selection. it's not
Signature
working.
asks if you use very subtle now on this text, would it redraw the entire canvas and therefore correct some of the text?
It
Um,
would redraw the entire canvas, but since we have so much text, I wager it would mess it up rather than correct it. So we'll go with this one here that has the most correct text. Do it very subtle on this. So we're already kind of at the point that it has more text in it that you would be able to do in a single prompt. Well, came out pretty good actually. We got a different fireman. All the text is right. Sometimes I'm a good sometimes. Country song. In 1 out of 4, it came out pretty good actually. Yeah. All the text is still good.
what do you think, Signature? Would you use that method?
Run. We'll put another one too, just so we can get another example. We'll do a strong as well, just for fun. In this one, it screwed up the text in all 4.
he's acquired a sort of hipster Gen X look.
Yeah. This one's neat because it definitely increased the stylization on the text. And
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
you could take this one and you could fix the text.
There you go, Kinky. Sometimes I am a good fire.
So we'll take this one here with its fancy text, and we'll
Okay.
select the errors and run it with the same prompt. And in theory, this should fix the errors, and we have fancy text and correct text. So with a strong remix, uh,
Are we still using negative soup weights, low weights, or
no,
are we at this point we're just
at this point we're just adding more text. So
and
it's a
we
bit of a
couldn't
tangent from the low weight
No, no,
prompting.
that's
because,
okay. I was just gonna ask, like, we couldn't correct typos with the low weight trick because the low weight trick actually robs us of coherency. Like it reduces coherency, so we can't brute force fix typos using that method. Is that right?
oh, you could. I've done it before. Yeah, it still works.
It does.
It's
Okay.
more obedient as well. I use
Well,
that
can you
for
do you want to try to show us uh correcting one of the typos using your low weight trick and just
sure.
see how it performs? I mean, it'll whatever. I mean, there's so much chaos and permutation that if it works or doesn't work, it barely teaches us anything. But
Yeah.
but at least
Well,
we can see what it looks like.
it'll be hard to compare because at full weight it works. It works perfectly. In all four of those, it's managed to fix
Oh
all
yeah, look
the
at that. Yeah.
um.
Oh, how about your M earlier that none of the four came back right?
Okay, how about that
That's only scrolling up for like 3.5 minutes of scrolling.
one?
Find that.
I think that was this one.
Yeah, 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 that's right.
I don't think it's going to work anyways because it's going to be a normal M, as we saw from the results, is thinner. So the problem was with the rest of
I
the
see,
word.
I see.
The
Although
way
maybe the lowered weight, which sort of says coherency rules can go out the window, means that it'll just go bananas and do whatever it
make
wants
a
with the M.
stretched M, maybe.
Yeah. I don't
I
know.
think
I don't know.
I think
Maybe.
the best way to
If
go about
you
this in one gen would be to select the whole back half of the word
yeah.
rather than just the M.
Are you
But
guys following all of our audience members following that we're just circling back to the original hack of low weight to see if um just although we can't really prove anything either way because this is just one small out example or test, but to see if it helps sort of brute force fix typos better than the normal method, just for giggles.
it's looking like inconclusive. It worked 1 out of 4.
Inconclusive. Yeah, and it still has the space problem. Okay, so at least in this one test, which is not, a great sample size, but it didn't seem to make any difference to use a low weight in fixing typos.
So back to the main train of thought where we're
Yes.
continuing to add more text here. Um, since actually no, we're gonna get large text. That's actually good. This was the last failed one with the large selection. Is this the one? This is the one with range. So it didn't want to add, but then sometimes. So simplify the requirements. But then it probably would be possible to get, but then sometimes, but it would take a bunch of rolls. And we are already running close on time. There's one more thing I wanted to cover before the end of this. So we can actually do this in 2 parts on the same line. We don't have to go to a new line every time. So we were able to get, but then go over here. But then sometimes so yeah, this is a bit of a tangent that's eating up a bunch of time, but I figured it was cool to show this this unlimited text trick here because this can't just keep going on forever. You just keep adding to the same text prompt within Paints, and you can add as much text as you want to because there's no real limit. You can go back and fix your typos, and it is somewhat time consuming, but it works. And sometimes I start fires.
So I'm drawing attention to the fact that you every time you add text, you're adding it to the prompt too. The prompt continues to have the text that you added last time as
Yes,
context.
that's exactly it. It's the context. This is the reason we're talking about this right now because while we were doing the other experiments with low weight prompting, I discovered this. This was the case that you could use context to just keep adding text. So here we have the whole thing. Sometimes I'm a good fireman, but then sometimes I start fires. And you could continue this on the other side.
And you upscale that so it kind of bookmarks it as the end of this section in prompt chat there.
Sure. If as long as upscale subtle behaves.
Oh, good point.
Let's see. That'll probably take a while. We'll jump into. We'll quickly cover the next thing. I call it face removal magic, but I think I'd rather like Kimbo's name for it. When he did a demonstration of it in PromptCraft the other day, he called it the eraser. And like you said, it sounds very ominous, very menacing, and that's okay. So we're gonna do a photograph of a let's say stock broker with a large mustache. But yeah, your observation here is accurate. Watching people prompt only here, it's like watching paint dry, and that's partially my fault. I didn't plan a
No, it's
lesson plan
not.
beforehand here.
It's
So
that we can't see your mouse pointer moving, and we can't see your keystrokes, and we can't see the chat. There's just not a lot going on. It's just
oh,
it's right.
I,
So,
I see what you
but
mean.
yeah, it's not had nothing to do with the presentation at all. It's to do with the fact there's no screen sharing over here. We can't see you typing or doing anything. But the advantage to doing it in the prompt craft room is that the participants here, there's like 60 people here, they can now go and copy and play with your prompt and see what if they, I don't know if you guys are familiar with this, but if you hover above the pictures, not on the pictures, but above the pictures, you get the ability to reply to the to the job so that you can talk about it. You can run it yourself to make it your own. You can use the prompt. There's a drop down menu that lets you do some other things. So that's the benefit is not, we still want to watch the stream because that's what sustains our interest because there's more visual activity. But we like you to do your prompting in the room so that we can grab your stuff and see what you did and zoom in and that sort of thing. So it's getting there. Early days for Midjourney rooms.
Okay, so talking about the eraser here. So we've got this dapper stockbroker fellow with a large mustache and beard and glasses, and if inpainting was perfectly obedient, you'd be able to, at full weight, just say smooth blank skin, and it should remove his face, right? But those of us who have some experience in painting know this is just not going to work. There's no context, the prompt is simple, and not ideal. Even at lowered weight, all the way to negative 0.7, so 0.3 total prompt weight, we can be reasonably assured that this isn't going to work. But if we go lower, all the way down to 0.05 total prompt weight, might see something interesting. So at full prompt weight, it removed his mustache and beard, redrew his face, as you would expect. Something I noticed when you're previewing images here, it goes to all images. So as I scroll through, I'm getting randomly seeing other people's images.
Yeah, it's a little disorienting.
Yeah, but at lowered prompt weight here, um, it just redrew his face as well. But
Amazing. Look, it kept the skin texture and everything.
yeah, the wrinkled ball sack for a face.
This is being recorded, sir. And
Oh,
I
oh,
see it
shoot.
also extrapolated the fabric up into his face. That's interesting. Is that because you had a few pixels of it in your selection?
That's possible, yeah. The selection was like this here.
Oh, yep, I see that there's a tiny bit of fabric there, so maybe that's why he got fabric smeared up his face.
Hmm. So this shows that so at full weight, it just redrew its face. It ignored pretty much what we're asking for. Um, Even at lowered prompt weight, it's going to redraw his face, slightly less coherent. But all the way down at 0.05 total prompt weight, um, this is the eraser in action. It'll take his face clean off. It'll remove ears. It'll remove
Does it
hands. It'll
only
remove
do that
limbs.
to faces, to human figures?
It'll
Or
remove just about anything. What what would you like to try? Let's try
uh,
removing something else,
what happens if you do it to the frog?
like the floating frog.
Yeah, to your floating
Yeah,
frog, or I don't know if we can go up that far.
can't really
You might have
search
to
in
go to
here.
your archive
Here.
or
Yeah.
something.
Floating frog.
Yeah, can you make it a featureless frog shape? I mean, what'll
Uh,
happen?
yeah, we could do the same thing on the frog's face here. The problem is this isn't movable. Oh, it just bumped everything up. Yeah, that works okay. So we can still vary region. We'll select the frog's face. Go smooth.
Oh,
Blank.
oh, Acid is also asking, does it only work on faces? I mean, you're about to show that it works on the face of another creature, but is it a face tool only?
No, it'll work on anything you want to remove. It's the most powerful eraser.
So
Some
if you have three people sitting on a park bench and you want to delete the middle person, you could just say smooth what the empty
empty park
col
bench.
empty park bench and then minus 9.95 there, and
So
it'll smooth.
it isn't always at negative 0.95, and it's very finicky where it needs to be because we're so close to the soup zone and we're so deep in the weird zone that if the weight is too high, it'll replace it with something very strange. And if the weight is too low, it'll put a big splotch of soup or noise on your image. So sometimes you have to fine tune it.
Yeah, I'm
I
wondering if
found
it would create smooth, featureless bench, or whether it would still create a crisp bench, no person, or whether it would try to blend the person with the bench. No idea.
we have to try. Um, so it's looking like here our weight's going to be too low for the frog face. So this one's manifesting some noise. You can see it there for a second. So yeah, we've got straight diffusion noise. This is far too
Yep,
deep.
yep. That's
So
straight up diffusion fail.
so we need more weight in order to do it. One. We're only going to go up a tiny bit. because
Wow, such a tiny
it's
bit,
super
yeah.
finicky.
What do you think it's gonna do to the frog's face? Smooth it over like it did to the man's face, or blend it away, like fill it in with office behind it?
Uh, I
Or
think
we don't know.
it should smooth it over.
Okay.
I think this is still too low.
And if you
Not
guys are
perfect.
wondering why it's not showing up in the prompt craft room, it's because the prompt craft room will, at the moment and in this early release, only keep 300 rows of images. So once we exceeded that, in order to go back to the frog, we actually had to go to Uthel's archive. Wow, you melted the frog.
Yeah, it looks like this worked. This was at 0.07 total prompt weight. Totally removed his face and put some
Well,
smooth
that's
blank frog skin.
a Lovecraftian moment that I never thought I'd have today.
It can definitely get really weird doing this.
It's actually making me a little uncomfortable. It's
Let's stop working at it. So instead
Oh
of
my
removing
God.
faces, we'll try removing something else. So we'll say a photograph. We're doing everything in photographs because it's generally harder to work with photographs. It'll work. These techniques will all work in illustrative environments just as well. Um, but when Midjourney, especially Midjourney default style, sees a photograph, it knows what a photograph is supposed to look like and what a coherent photograph is supposed to look like. And it'll try and force it really hard. Um, so the fact that we're able to mess with it with lowered weights uh, is a testament to the strength of playing with lowered weights. So we're going to have a photograph of astronaut woman giving a thumbs up on a space station. What we're going to try and do with this is remove the thumbs up, remove her hand using the eraser. There we have, this one's pretty much perfect. Astronaut woman from ANSA and base. And she's giving a thumbs up. And we're going to select that thumbs up. We're going to leave some wrist. And we're going to go background. And we'll do this just with, we'll do a side by side. So we'll do it at full weight. And we'll start at 0.05 total weight, and we'll see what that looks like, because we might have to adjust. And actually, I think my selection is flawed there. And I left a little bit of thumbnail in there, and that might be enough. That might be enough just to mess with it, to soil the results. So we're going to try it again with a better selection. Okay, one at full weight. .05.
There's a question here from How to Eat a Crocodile. The question is, how do you control or modify the W when you are using vary region?
The W.
I don't know.
Oh, the weird dash weird.
The
Same as
weight.
you normally
He
would.
spelled he heard me and he typed in the weight. How do you control
Oh,
the weight? The weight of what?
the total prompt weight, exactly as you see me doing here. So we're using a negatively weighted promptlet. So it's using multi-prompting. And so if you look here, we've got two promptlets here. We've got background and double quotation marks. So the double quotation marks is what we use in version 6 as a void prompt, or what I call a void prompt anyway. Some people call it a null prompt. It's a prompt that has no meaning and no effect, basically. So when you use it, when you prompt a void prompt by itself, it's useful in other ways we're not going to talk about today. But in this context, it's the cleanest way of lowering the total weight of the prompt without actually negating any content. So you could also get the exact same effects if you were to negate a term. Like if you were at extreme low weights, it doesn't really matter what term it is. The results will be different for everything, but you get two effects from it. You get the negation of the actual term and the effects of a lowered total weight prompt. So it's hard to tell what's actually doing the work in those cases. But with using a negatively weighted void promptlet, while it's still not entirely possible to determine the effect of what it's actually negating, at least it's uniform, and it does the same every time. And it's as close as possible as we can get to something that has no meaning or no terms. So it produces less strange effects when using it as a negatively weighted promptlet to lower the total prompt weights. The whole point is just to, as cleanly as possible, lower the total prompt weight. So we've got two promptlets, one of them's negatively weighted. So this prompt here, so background by default is going to have a 1 prompt weight, and the double quotation marks are going to have a negative 0.95 prompt weight. So the total prompt weight here would be 0.05. Let's take a look at our results here. So at full weight with the hand selected and asking for background, this is the one where I had a tip of the thumb still peeking through. And I said, this probably is going to work. And sure enough, that tiny little bit of thumb was enough for it to know that there's something there. So when I did it again at full weight without that little tip of thumb, it's replacing your hand with some astronaut gloves, so it's getting context from the rest of the astronaut costume here, and it's adding in an astronaut glove on her hand, and this one's kind of a half glove, half hand. But once we use the extreme low weight prompt here, it totally removed her hand. Slightly nightmarish. Some of these are a little more in the extremely deep weird zone. So we've just got very weird hands. This one worked perfectly though. Removed her hand
That's
with
very
the
cool.
eraser. And normally, as shown here, that wouldn't really be possible because in theory, this would do the same thing. You're asking for a background, you've got her hand selected, it should remove the hand, show the background. But it does work when you're using the eraser here. So it can be used to make smooth faces, remove hands. Let's do 3 people sitting on a bench. Do we have enough time for that? We'll see.
No, we sure don't.
Okay, we're out
Um,
of time.
We are out of time. Uthal, this was just amazing. I'll try to do a really rapid recap, which is that when you there's a hack that you can use by intentionally lowering the weight of your prompt. There are some cool things you can do, which essentially helps in very region to sort of brute force get things onto the canvas, and can also play a role as sort of an eraser if you get it just right. And we showed lots of different ways to use that hack, and we also spent some time going over how to use how to add many lines of text rather than just 1 or 2 words, which Midjourney appears to be capable of only doing a couple of words uh, until you use very region to add word by word. So these were all very fascinating things. If you came in late and missed some of these, uh, uh, well, we invite you to come next week where we will go over some other interesting things. This is PromptCraft Live, which is your advanced prompt craft discussion and presentation. Uthal is a sort of a community leader, and he has joined us as a guest speaker today. If you yourself would ever feel like stepping up to teach some people what you've discovered about Midjourney, you can contact myself or my co-host Kinky Kong, and we will make sure to get you on the schedule. One of the things we did differently today here on PromptCraft Live is we had a shared stream here in Discord, and we also used the a brand new Midjourney prompt craft room. The Midjourney room allows you to access almost all of the prompts that Uthal used today during his presentation. Um, if you would like to explore the prompts that were used, at least the last 300 of them are available in the prompt crafting at the prompt crafting link that I just provided, and you can play around with what Uthal has presented today. Currently, Midjourney Rooms is open for users who have made 100 images or more. There is a limit in how much chat history you'll see, and there's a limit in how many images you'll see, or image jobs you'll see uh, uh, right now, because this is an alpha release and we're just testing it. And thank you for joining the pilot today as we tried to see what happens when we prompt in the Midjourney room and what do you want to call this? Do our chatting and live streaming and audio here in Discord. Um, what do you? I'll put the link again. If you need the Midjourney prompt craft room, um, I'll put it again here, and you can hang out there all day long. We sure do. We thank Uthal very much. You're getting lots of applause and gratitude, Uthal, and and I'm so glad that you guys enjoyed the combo of the Midjourney room and Discord. We'll see. We'll see what we do in the future, whether we do this again. I do think it's fun to have the prompt history of the event of immediately available to play with, but I'm disappointed that there's only 300, and we blew through those 300 right away, Uthal. So, right? So some of the stuff you did at the beginning are not available to anyone anymore. So you're getting lots of applause, and thank you everyone for joining. PromptCraft Live is adjourned, and we will see you this time next week. Thanks for coming, everyone.
See you, everyone.